We're just a few hours away from a key hearing in the Trump administration's latest very high-profile showdown with the judiciary as part of an ongoing legal battle. One prominent retired judge fears all of this could explode into a full-blown constitutional crisis. In an op-ed in the New York Times, J. Michael Luttig writes this, and I'm quoting him right now. Look at this. President Trump has wasted no time in his second term in declaring war on the nation's federal judiciary. He has provoked a constitutional crisis with his stunning frontal assault. The casualty could well be the constitutional democracy Americans fought for in the Revolutionary War, close quote. Joining us now is trial and compliance attorney Seth Berensweig. Seth, thanks so much for joining us. First of all, do you share Judge Luttig's concerns?
Well, I hugely respect the judge. I have actually argued in front of him in the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals, so I have deep respect. I respectfully disagree with this. I don't think that we're headed towards a constitutional crisis. I view the actions of the executive branch to really follow along the traditional aspects of federal compliance and immigration law. So, and I think that that's where we're going to end up. Certainly, regardless of what happens in this historic hearing today here in Washington, we'll probably end up in front of the Supreme Court, but we'll always be within the judicial guardrails and due process under the Constitution.
So you have full confidence that the Trump administration will honor all the judicial decisions?
I believe that they will, because ultimately I believe that they have a good argument. As a crack in my crystal ball, I don't know exactly what's going to happen, other than that we'll probably end up in front of the Supreme Court in a few weeks regardless. But it's important in the analysis to recognize that where we start is under the traditional authority of the executive branch, and specifically DHS, to have a process known as expedited removals. And under this process, people who are here illegally, that have no legal standing, that have demonstrated propensity to violence, that are affiliated with a designated terrorist organization, they're not even entitled as a matter of federal law to traditional due process. And under these DHS procedures, which have been fully published in the Federal Register, the executive branch, especially related to national security, has the inherent powers to do that even before we get to the Alien Enemies Act, which is also a big part of this case. So it'll be a close call, but I think that certainly the administration has good faith arguments, and a lot will happen later this afternoon.
We will see fairly soon. The IRS, meanwhile, is nearing a deal with Homeland Security that would allow ICE to use tax data to locate people it suspects of living in the country illegally. It's a move that privacy experts say would violate disclosure laws. Is that the case?
Well, I think that that is something that the administration, again, will have a certain degree of latitude over. Whether or not there is a reasonable expectation in data privacy is something that is really very case dependent. If it's something that's administered through public channels, there is arguably a lesser level of an expectation of privacy from a constitutional perspective. But it really is an interesting question, because it circles back to the administration's inherent authority to administer matters of national security, which they've had a traditional deference over. Particularly, I think, when the United States Supreme Court takes a look at this, which they probably will shortly, they will see that regardless of whether we go through the Alien Enemies Act or through more traditional means that DHS can employ, there really is inherent authority. And it's important because there's a lot of people in the United States, and it's been reflected in the result of the election, where this is really consistent with popular opinion. So there's going to be a lot of activity, and what's going to be happening in the courtroom at 1:30 this afternoon is going to be very interesting. It's designated for an hour. I wouldn't be surprised if it goes over, and we'll have a decision from the D.C. Federal Court of Appeals very, very soon.
Yeah, we'll be watching. Seth Berensweig, thanks so very much for joining us.
You bet.